What's up, guys? So, would I buy another C7 Corvette? Could I do it again? Or if I could do it over, would I still buy the same car that I bought today with the same options? And let's go over a little bit about the options that I chose in my car right now. I opted for a 7-speed, not an automatic, which I'll go over why. I got a non-Z51, the non-dry sump, non-electronic diff, no ceramic brakes. Of course, I don't think that was an option with a non-Grand Sport or Z06. I got pretty much the base of the base. I got non-magnetic suspension, and of course, white exterior with a black interior. So, do I think today, almost a year later, is that still the options I would have chose? And let's go over some of the reasons why I chose those options. When it comes to the automatics, they're still having problems. They're having issues where the moisture doesn't dissipate from the transmission fluid and destroys torque converters and causes hard shifts, and ultimately makes the car either not drivable or unfun to drive. The magnetic suspension, I opted out of that because, let's face it, it's expensive to maintenance. It's not necessarily the best. I know a lot of people who have bought even a Z06 or Grand Sport or a Z51 with Magneride is what they call it, and they opt out for coilover options from certain companies, and they just like it much more. Also, with the carbon ceramics or brakes like that, if I bought a ZR1, I would ask if I could get it with non-carbon ceramic brakes, simply because each rotor is $3,000, and I mean, no matter how much money you have, who wants to spend $3,000 every time they got to replace some rotors? And they don't last the lifetime of the car. They will have to be replaced, especially if you track the car heavily. And then the non-electronic diff. I chose the non-e-diff for my car, and mainly because I know in the early 2014s, 2015s, and some of the 2016s, during launches and launch controls, they were breaking them. They were snapping the diffs quite readily, and I don't know if it was the e-brake engaging, or the anti-rollback was engaging and breaking them, or what, but that's some of the reasons of why I bought my car the way I bought it today. And I mean, like a non-Z51, to me, a Z51 came dry sumped, which I could always dry sump my car if I really wanted it to be dry sumped, and there's a lot of people having really bad issues with the oil not being right, or they don't perform the oil right, or the oil changes, or they're finding brass metal shavings in their oil pan after oil changes because they weren't priming the oil tanks right, or lots of issues that they were having. And for me, I mean, it's not that big of a difference. If I'm not going to heavily track the car, I don't really need it. And if I do heavily track the car, I can make, precautions and procedures to kind of limit the swaying of the oil in the pan. And same goes with the only thing a Z51 comes with besides the base is a dry sump, an electronic diff, Magneride, and it's got a trans cooler on the other side of the car. And I have a manual, don't really need the trans cooler. It's not something I really needed. And I mean, I've had no overheating issues, no transmission issues. I've never had any hard shifts, nothing like that. No pop outs, nothing. So I've driven this car for 51,000 miles. I'm over 50,000 miles now. In a relatively short amount of time, I do drive the car roughly 1,000 or more miles a week, especially when I go to Houston or Dallas. I sit in traffic. I drive to Austin a lot. I drive probably 100 miles a day just to back and forth to work a few times, going to my little shop that I have. So yeah, I mean, so would I buy it again? The answer to that is yes. I don't think there's any reason why I would have bought anything more or less for my car. I kind of have been really pleased with it. It's really, it's everything I wanted it to be. It's reliable. It drives nice. It's got plenty of power for a daily driver. You know, plenty of power, staying reliable. I mean, sure, I could boost the car or supercharge it in the future, but then I would need to do rods and pistons because of the weak ring lands and just certain things I'm not really sure about what I want to do yet. But so yeah, the simple answer to that question is yeah, I'm extremely happy. If I could go back 1 year today and buy a different car or buy a different optioned Corvette, I probably wouldn't do so. Even, I mean, depending on the price. Obviously, if I could get a 7-speed Z06 for almost the same price or a little more, I would definitely have done it, but not because I didn't like this car. And I feel like the price that I bought this car when I bought it was an extremely good price. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I know people that have bought brand new fully optioned SS Camaros and paid more than I did. And I'll be doing a video about what I paid for this car and how much I pay in payments. I do finance some of it. I put a big down payment, but I finance some of it. It helps build credit, helps build, good relations with banks, because sure, if you buy cash with if you pay everything in cash, it's a great thing, but it also doesn't build you any credit for the future. That being said, this car has been amazing. There's not a single thing I would do different. I like the white. I like the black interior. I mean, it gets dirty. I don't mind the rock chips. I don't mind any of that stuff. It's been a great car for me. So yeah, if you're looking at buying a C7 and if you're looking at having one to daily drive, it's definitely daily drivable. I've done a video on it. I drive it every single day. Yesterday in Texas, it was 21 degrees. It drove just like any other car, if not better. I have a 4-wheel drive Toyota truck that I never drive. I can just drive this. I mean, I park this thing in my driveway. I don't even park it in a garage. I have other cars in my garage. So yeah, I mean, it's really been everything that I thought it would be. And I always wanted to buy the best car a car manufacturer makes, simply because they hold it to a higher standard, and this car has definitely fulfilled that for me. I know some people have had issues with them. They've had motors blow at 500 miles. They've had lifter issues. They had transmission issues. But I've done a lot of research before buying. I don't put my car into eco mode. I don't allow it to cylinder deactivate, which I heard destroys lifters. I didn't buy an automatic because they were having issues, and kind of the way I optioned my car was to prevent some of those little issues. And the one thing is, I drive it every day. A lot of these cars, if you set it for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, all the oil drains out of the engine, drains into the pan, leaves the lifters and the cams, and leaves everything dry. And then every time you start it that once every 2 weeks or once a month, you're starting it pretty much dry. Where I drive this car every day. I start it multiple times a day. I mean, I don't know a single time of the day where I choose to drive something else. I have a lot of people who are like, why don't you drive something else? And I just have too much fun with this car. Most of my cars get to sit and do nothing because of this car. It's definitely been what I wanted. It's definitely one of the best cars I've ever owned. Once it becomes springtime or more summer, it gets a lot warmer, I can pull the roof off. It's just a really nice car to drive. And I don't know, it makes me happy. I enjoy, it's worth every penny that I paid for it. I don't feel like I overpaid. And I mean, I suggest, if you're ever looking at one, if you're looking to jump up from a C6 or a C5 into a C7, definitely do it. It's an outstanding vehicle for whatever you want to use it for. I mean, you might want to option yours differently depending on what you want to do, but that's just my opinion. Thanks again. See y'all later. Have a good day. Take it easy.